Peter Newbold is the GM of PGG Wrightson Real Estate. Let's take our monthly look at a rural market that is being hamstrung by the banks. Peter Newbold, good afternoon. Are they being fair weather friends?
Well, it's a challenging space at the moment. You know, all the credit is tightening up and the rules have changed, and it's putting a huge amount of pressure on those people who want to move on with their life or sell their farm, or, you know, people coming in to buy. So it's probably the most difficult piece in the puzzle at the moment, and it's affecting, right throughout the country.
And we've seen that in sales volumes, haven't we? I think we're 300 units back in 2019 compared to what we were in 2018, and we're a far cry from where we were in the boom times when the banks were lining up to lend money in 2014.
Yeah, look, the way back, you think 300 units isn't a lot, but that's a big number, and then you sort of move into the from a dollars perspective, and year on year it's 700 million back. So you can see there's a big change in activity, and it's covered most of the sectors, but the one that's probably still moving along okay is sheep and beef, and we know why in that space.
Now, the banks are putting the screws, I hear, through my sources, on people trying to get into the horticulture industry. I can understand why there's some uncertainty around dairy at the moment with all the environmental constraints. Mind you, the prices have never been better, but I would have thought when it comes to horticulture, the future looks so positive. I thought they would be into that.
Yeah, well, it is surprising. I was speaking to Stan this morning, actually, and, all the pricing's good. There's a lot of positiveness in that sector. So you'd think, there should be no issues, but definitely, again, that area has been held up in that, and I guess through that you're seeing a lot less listings taking place in that area, which we especially saw in the first 6 months. I think it might just change a little bit as we move into the autumn, but definitely a lot slower this year.
Are we seeing much land use change? And I'm talking about conversions of properties, marginal properties that were in dairying to sheep and beef, where you said there's a good interest in there. And what about some of those horticulture areas, or even dairying areas, for instance, in Northland, that are going to horticulture?
Yeah, we're actually seeing a lot of it. And, I can just think of a couple of examples now where small grazing blocks, say, in the Bay of Plenty, have been sold. A portion of it's going to be put into, say, horticulture, avocados or kiwi, and then the balance will be grazed. Or another good example is in this last week, a really nice dairy farm sold on the outskirts of Cambridge, and that's going to be changed into a different land use. So we're quietly seeing that. It's not visible, I guess, to the general public or your listeners, but it's just quietly happening, and I think it's only going to, the momentum is only going to, continue over the next few years, in my opinion.
Are we seeing any dairy farm transactions at all, other than for land use change? Do we know where the market is?
It's really, really small. You can count them on a few hands, and sort of, as I said, they might have changed because of land use, or it's a quality property, or a neighbour's bought it, but in general terms, it's been very quiet right through the country. I don't think there's any area that stand out. And, if you take Southland, which is a fantastic farming area, and you speak to the key people there, it's been very, very quiet.
Well, we've got a good property in Southland, right on the border between Southland and Otago at Waikaka. Not a mile away from where I grew up. This is good summer-safe country, and this is a sheep and beef and deer property. A lot of deer fencing on this one. Let's have a look at the land size. 98 hectares, 240-odd acres. That would be a great first farm.
Yeah, look, it's a wonderful part of the country there, and, a lot of people probably aren't aware of it. It's great farming country. It works well in the summer. It's just good countryside, and here's an example of a small unit coming to the market, which first farm buyer or someone who wants to add to their existing property in a great part of the country, just north of Gore there.
You can look at it on our website, thecountry.co.nz. Click on Rural Properties. It is our property of the week, and to add icing to the cake, it's got a duck pond. What more could a man or woman ask for? Peter Newbold, always good to chat here on The Country.
Yeah, thanks, John, and you have a good afternoon.